How can we use search terms from passages? It's actually pretty easy. The most important thing to remember is as you are reading, to think about what it is. What is the meaning of this passage? What is it trying to share with me? What information can I glean from it? So I'm going to go ahead and read this passage. As I'm reading this passage, I want you to be thinking, hey, what is this whole thing talking about? What's the main point of these passages? And what words repeat? Because that can really help clue you in as to what's going on. So here we go. Stanley Pierce and Marshall Bond were in Seattle, Washington when it happened. On July 17, 1897, 68 rugged miners stepped off the SS Portland steamship and made their way through the excited crowd. They were carrying large sacks filled with the most precious metal in the world, gold. Stanley Pierce described the scene this way. Thousands of people in the public square watched the weather-beaten and hardy adventurers stagger into the express office with sacks of gold. Gold in blankets, in oil cans, and even in moccasins. Together, these miners brought back an astounding 4,000 pounds of gold. It was worth nearly $1 million, which by today's standards would be many times that amount. 3 days earlier, miners on another ship, the SS Excelsior, had arrived in San Francisco with large quantities of gold as well. Both groups of miners had found their gold in the same place, the Klondike region of northern Canada. Soon these discoveries would make headlines around the world. Okay, so there are a couple of things you can do in terms of trying to get search terms out of this passage. The big thing is to think about, what is the passage about? What is a word that you see repeated often in this passage? I'll give you 2 seconds to come up with it. See if I can zoom in on it. What's the word that comes up a lot? Gold, right? I was trying to zoom in, it didn't work. So, yeah, gold comes up repeatedly in this document. Okay, so let's look and just see how many times it comes up. So we've got gold here, gold, gold, gold. Okay, so they're talking, oh, gold down there, gold. Gold is a word that is used a ton. Okay, so we know gold would obviously be a search term. Okay, so let's come up with our search terms from this passage. So gold is going to definitely be there. Another thing to think about would be names. Okay, so we've got one name here, one name here. So Stanley Pierce, Marshall Bond. And if you notice, Stanley Pierce is repeated right here as well. Okay? So something else that is mentioned several times, like who is this passage talking about? Who is bringing in the gold? Well, miners, right? So we've got miners here. We've also got miners down here. So miners could also be another search term. Okay? And there are 2 other names that are mentioned in here. The SS Portland, SS Excelsior. Okay? So the ships. So the SS Portland and oops, I spelled that wrong. Excelsior. Okay? So we've got several possibilities here. There's also one more thing, okay, and it happens in this part right here. And it helps if you start thinking about who, what, when, where, why. The 5 W's can be very helpful when you're looking for search terms, okay? And that is who, what, when, where, and why. So the 5 W's can help us. We've identified a who. What is the gold? When? Have we identified a when? We did not. July 17th, 1897. Okay, so that's an important date to keep in mind. All right, where? We have not identified where this was happening. All right. So at the beginning, it's talking about Seattle, Washington. So that's a where. That's where the ships were landing. Okay. But where was the gold being found? The gold was being found here in the Klondike region of northern Canada. So Klondike, Canada, are also good search terms. Okay. Now, why? Why were people looking for gold? Why do you think? Because it's worth money, right? So if you really get stuck trying to come up with search terms, if you don't see repeated words really quickly to help you out like we did with gold in this passage, think about the 5 W's, okay? If you can answer each one of these 5 W's, those 5 W's will also generate search terms for you.